us know, and you'll get back in touch with Shield Air and let
Yes.
them know as well. I'm sure you've been working with them.
Yeah, we have been working with them, and I'm hoping that if not tomorrow, definitely by next week, we'll have the consultant's report so we can review. And I'll definitely share that with Alan, and we'll figure out where to go from there.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
That's it for me.
That's it? Okay, great. Commissioner McKenzie, do you have any reports today? Commissioner McKenzie.
Yeah, hold on a second. I want to I don't know, I got a couple of issues I just want to go over real quick. I'm in the building. I'll come down later. I'm just finishing up my lunch. So, the Melrose maintenance, I've been talking with the city manager about the maintenance that we had in the storm swells. And if you all remember when we had the rainstorms about 8-10 months ago, we had all the flooding in Melrose Manors and Melrose Park. And there was a maintenance plan I keep asking about, and the manager and I have been talking about it. That's out there, but every time I ask about the maintenance, it seems to me like I'm getting misinformation or information that doesn't mitigate or prevent future flooding over in that area. And it has to do with the cutting of the grass in what we call the storm runoff canals. And in talking with the manager, it seems like something happened yesterday where they went into the storm runoff swales and tried cutting, but every time I ask about the maintenance, I get reports that it's too wet to maintain it. And this is how we got here in the first place. So maybe we need to do something different. Chris, can you give me an update on the maintenance and your recommendations moving forward so we don't run into the same situation we ran into before with the Melrose Manors swell retention, whatever we call them, but they're canals that were filled in and used as runoffs for stormwater.
I can tell you what I know since the last time we talked on the topic. Tarlisha was going to take the lead on that, and she did, in fact, with Public Works, meet with the contractor that does the maintenance. I saw that get scheduled, and that might have been the pivot point of why you saw something in those swales yesterday. The goal is to put a plan together and then to get on your calendar like we agreed to, and to do that sooner rather than later, to lay out a maintenance plan for you so that you're well up to speed with what's going on. But we've escalated it to my office in working with the contractor, and once I have an update, I'll be happy to give it.
Can we do a deeper dive, Chris, and maybe we all could meet out there and maybe cutting is not the solution, you know?
Absolutely. And I think
because even in the past, when we looked at the log, we got a lot of feedback from the landscape guy that he couldn't cut because it was wet. And also you have the lack of access to the yards. Remember the day we went out into Mr. Nelson's backyard, you, myself, and Tarlisha?
Yep.
There's no access points for the landscape guys to get back there. And I think they were coming in at the bridge and just go on the length of the canal. So if you don't have an access and you try to get in there and it's wet, you see the overgrowth that I showed with you in the picture. So I want to make sure we can get ahead of this. And maybe mowing's not the solution. Maybe it's weed whacking from the banks. Maybe it's heavy equipment once a quarter. I don't know, but I do know that whatever we're trying to do is not working because of the inclement weather.
Yeah, I'd agree with you there. I mean, the intent of those ditches, canals is to move water. So that by its very nature means it's going to be wet. So yes, happy to work with you on it. Why don't we'll schedule something to meet out in the field. We'll try to get next week.
Can I add to this conversation? Because
absolutely, sure.
It's really more than just cutting the grass, because I've been out there multiple times, and there are certain culverts that gather water from the runoff, and they're filled with garbage. Not just clippings, but we're talking debris. And when I was out campaigning the end of October in that area, and we were having those incessant rains right before, before voting day, it was a shame. I called our public works director at the time. He came out there, and he says, "Well, we're on a program where at some point we'll get to it." Well, it never seems to be gotten to, and a lot of the backup and the flooding, I think, again, I'm not an engineer, but it just seems like, from a layman's point of view, when these culverts are backed up and they're not flowing with water, it's backing up, it's causing flooding, and again, it's not just the clippings, it's it's actual debris, bottles and packaging and all this stuff that we just allow to fester at these sites, and is causing a big problem. So when you go out there, Chris, just keep that in mind.
Will do.
Okay.
That's how it all started, Mayor.
I know.
On some of my earlier visits, way before the storm, I noticed the debris and lack of maintenance, and some of the lack of integrity to the maintenance schedule. And then the rain came, exposed it all. And after your visit and our mitigation, we did clean up the whole length of the canals. We took out sofas, refrigerators, bottles, crates, all sorts of stuff.
It's hard to stuff one of those refrigerators down a culvert.
Well, they throw it over there, and then the grass grows over it, and the maintenance guys don't see it, or they just cut around it.
Right.
So I just think we need to look at it a little closer, like I said, and like you agreed, to do more, and maybe again, mowing's not the solution. Maybe it's a dredging once a quarter.
Okay.
The other thing that I have, and maybe it's me, I don't know, but I've been having issues with communicating with our lobbyists, in particular in Washington, D.C. I noticed a couple months ago, I was getting some pushback about they couldn't communicate directly with me, but since I've been a commissioner, I've always been able to reach out to our lobbyists, whether it's up in D.C. or in the Tallahassee. Has something changed? And I wasn't kept in the loop. Did we change lobbyists? I mean, I know we got an RFP on the street for a contract, but we should still have a lobbyist in place until we renew or pick a new lobbyist. Am I correct? Or I mean, it was even told to me that, not told to me, but shared with me that they weren't supposed to talk to us. Everything's supposed to go through somebody else.
Yeah, I don't know that's necessarily true, and I don't know that I would agree with the fact that.
Well, I saw it in writing. So before you answer. I mean, be careful. I saw it in writing.
Answering the way I feel in response to your question.
Okay.
We do still have state lobbyists under contract. We hopefully will have a contract forward at the next meeting to renew with the lobbyists that we have, and potentially add a couple new ones to it. Mm-hmm. There was a problem with the federal lobbyist RFP, and they ended up rejecting all bids there and fixing what was in error and going back to bid. So that will come forward at a future point in time. So they won't come together on the same agenda, but they should come in close proximity. And again, the answer that Chris is giving you as to his opinion, regardless of what you might have seen in writing, and I can track that down, but part of an elected official's job is to, in fact, lobby on behalf of the city in those political arenas. So I don't have any issue with it, and think, candidly, sometimes there's an intent to try to have ease and flow in information, and I get it from that perspective too. But I just fundamentally, I believe that as elected officials, you all should be able to lobby in places maybe even better than I can in certain circumstances.
But on the federal level is where I'm getting the resistance. I was told basically that contract ended a couple months ago and they can't lobby for us anymore. I mean, I'm getting mixed signals or missing. Is anyone else experiencing what I'm experiencing?
I have been experiencing the same
There's not.
issue, Commissioner McKenzie, because I am actively involved in lobbying the state and feds on behalf of our city once we all agree to the issues that we do want to lobby on behalf of. So I do have a pretty good working relationship with Maurice and his team. I do know that we are going out to bid. But I did ask, Maurice has always sent me his legislative updates, and I do read them. I don't really get as many directly from our state lobbyist, but I would be happy to get any updates from them as well. I tend to get the updates from the Florida League of Cities, and I do try to share those with you all as a commission when I get them. So I personally prefer to get updates, just what's going on in DC and Tallahassee personally. I know Daphne does a great job also of, putting together these pieces and sharing them with us, but I like to have the information just kind of directly and personally, and I also like to get what Daphne's getting. I mean, if it's okay, I like all that coming my way, and I can sort it out, and I'm happy to, like I said, keep working for the city on issues that we agree. I do not lobby for anything unless we have all agreed to it and voted on it as a city. So
This is Alan.
And so do I, but my concern still is when a firm tells me that I have to go to staff, Daphne's office in particular, to get any information that I'm inquiring about what happened when he went and lobbied on our behalf, whereas in the past, I received communications, as did we all, and the previous commission. And all of a sudden, when we got our own internal governmental or whatever they do there, it seems back the pushback came then. And are we not allowed to get information from the lobbyists? Do we still have a lobbyist at this time? Not the RFP. Do we have a lobbyist is my question on the federal level right now working for us until that contract expires. And why aren't we getting direct communications from the lobbyists? Those are my two questions on the floor.
Commissioner Alan Boileau, City Attorney. It's the first I hear about any directive, but I think the situation is that we are out of contract with the federal lobbyists, so I can understand them.
What date was that, Alan?
That I don't have the exact date, but that contract did expire. So technically they're not under contract, so I can understand either their reluctance or having some sort of directive. I'm not aware of the directive, but I can find out exactly where it came from. But that would make sense that they may be holding back, especially since we're in a procurement type posture and the contract has not been awarded yet and we are out of contract. That's probably why.
So, Alan, what is the proper protocol as far as members of the commission communicating with our lobbyists? Just like we're not supposed to communicate directly with our employees, but through city manager, how does that work with third-party contractors?
For lobbying purposes, I think, as the city manager indicated, I think there's always historically been an open line of communication. I don't see that there's an issue with that because the services are typically, it's almost a direct conduit between what the political goals are and how those are communicated to our legislature. So there's a natural connection there. So I don't have so much of an issue with that with lobbyists. But I think this circumstance is just unique because of the posture we're in with the contract.
Okay, so
well, can it find if the contract is truly expired, when it expired, and see if you can track down any information where we were told not to, or they were told not to deal directly with us.
I will.
Because, and I'm not talking about talking to staff. I'm talking to the city manager, and but lobbyists I've always been able to talk to.
okay. Anything else?
Yeah, my other question, I inquired last meeting about our COVID status, and I got a report from HR about the cases that we have in the city, but it had 2020 and 2021. I was concerned about the 2021 cases. Do we have that information yet, Chris, or are the staff still working on it?
We should have it, and in fact, I probably have it in my inbox, so I can, while we're going through some other items, I'll take it as a note, and I'll see if I can find it and send it to you.
Okay, so I know that we have, a few deaths we had throughout the city. We have some cases. I just want to track, are our cases going up or going down, and what departments are being affected by it. So I just want to be kept in the loop if I can. How often do you get a report, or could you generate a report for the commission?
We've typically been generating weekly reports, and tracking it as tracking the stats that way. And we also, there for a period of time, had a testing site set up out in our front parking lot. We were tracking that data too, as to employees that were availing themselves to a test, and then how many positive tests we had. So we're moving that.
What happened to that site? I enjoyed it. I got tested once a week there.
Yeah, we're moving it around the city to our other facilities so that everybody has ease and access. So right now it's up.
Okay.
It's up at 5 Ash, I believe, right now.
Can you let us know where that unit is, so that for those of us that still want to get tested, we can go to another site and get it?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. We've got
That concludes my
Okay.
my reporting, and that concludes it.
Okay. Commissioner Glassman.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, everyone. Last couple of weeks, Solid Waste Working Group at the county is moving forward. Just so you know, I know I thank you as much as possible for appointing me to that working group, but that work continues, and I think we're making incredible strides. As soon as we have some more information, we'll be happy to make a report on that. Had a very productive meeting, as I mentioned that I would, with the boat show and the tenant from Bahia Mar, and I know that we're all working on having another workshop soon at the commission. Also attended a very interesting meeting of the Lauderdale public meeting. I wanted to thank staff for putting that together, and the consultant, and for all the folks that showed up. That was a very interesting, basically a presentation and input from everyone in the community. I thought it was really, really excellent. It was a pleasure on Tuesday, August 24th, to attend the swearing-in ceremony for our new chief of police. Congratulations. Really enjoyed being with Chief Scarrato and everyone over at the Baptist Church, and I thought it was a wonderful ceremony, so thank you for that. Wednesday evening, Mayor, you and I were at SSL Day cocktail reception, stilettos, suits, and lipstick, I think SSL stands for, Dr. Elizabeth King, and the incredible suits, stilettos, and lipstick. Thank you. What did I say?
Almost that.
Almost that. Okay, thank you. Anyway, what an amazing group that is, and the work that they do, so impressive and just so community driven. So congratulations to them for that. Also attended a South Middle River Civic Association community meeting. Thought that was very productive. Wanted to thank all of the staff that was there that day, all of the police officers that were there that day, as well as the chief. And I know that we're all going to be working on an action plan to deal with a lot of the issues that were brought up at that community meeting. Also attended Victoria Park Civic Association meeting. For everyone that's celebrating the High Holy Days, I wanted to wish everyone a very sweet and happy New Year. Rosh Hashanah was Monday evening through last night. Yom Kippur will be next Wednesday evening through Thursday evening. Coming up, I know that this Saturday we have the 9/11 Remembrance ceremony on the Riverwalk. It is so hard for me to fathom that it has been 20 years. That's just one of those events, I think, like the assassination of President Kennedy or Martin Luther King or Bobby Kennedy, that you just remember exactly where you were and exactly what you were doing, and it's so amazing when you think about it. No matter how many years go by, you always remember. So we will be remembering on this Saturday. Tuesday the 14th, first meeting ever of the brand new Hendricks Isle and Isle of Venice Neighborhood Association.
Oh, really?
Yes, a brand new association is forming. Again, Hendricks Isle and Isle of Venice, so we'll welcome that group to the family of neighborhood associations in our city. Also coming up, I will be speaking at the Broward Workshops Urban Core Committee on the 17th. This Sunday, I'll be visiting with Lauderdale tomorrow. Also coming up, Progresso Village Civic Association meeting. I know that Flagler Village Civic Association meeting, I think, has deferred their meeting till the 22nd. Just a couple of comments. I wanted to just announce and congratulate to our education officer and also our Education Advisory Board, which I think is doing a stellar job, but the city of Fort Lauderdale was recently selected as Broward County Public Schools honoree for the Florida Department of Education's 2021 Commissioner's Business Recognition Award. That's a very prestigious award, and it really does show the commitment of our city, our education officer, our Education Advisory Board, and just how much we actually care about the education of our children. So I wanted to say congratulations to all involved for that, because that's a wonderful recognition of the work that goes on in our city and our partnership with the Broward County Public Schools. So again, congratulations to everyone for that. I know we'll probably, as we always do, a moment of silence this evening, but I did want to mention the passing of Rose Miniacci, an amazing philanthropist, especially when it came to arts education. She has done so much for the children and for the arts in our community. She was 100 years old, just an amazing legacy that she left and the work that she did on behalf of Fort Lauderdale. I also wanted to mention the passing of a former neighbor of mine, actually, at Jackson Tower, Joel Gustafsson. Joel served in so many capacities in our area as an elected official, worked for elected officials, and then just did so much on behalf of our community, also involved with the city and the county. Joel, I think, was 87 years old, a really fine gentleman, and I'm sure you'll mention them when you mention anyone else this evening as well. So thank you for that, Mayor. Just two other things. Alan, I was wondering, have we ever thought of, and I'm framing this now in terms of hearing such sad news of folks on our staff that are passing away from COVID-19. Have we ever thought of, or are we even able to discuss or consider a vaccine requirement for city employees?
As I have opined before, and I haven't seen anything to deviate from it from a legislative standpoint, the statute, the way it's written for governmental entities, refers to our inability to deny access to persons to our building, which would include employees, based on proof of vaccine confirmation. Unlike retailers, which are limited to customers and patrons, we have the overall very broad person. And I understand the governor, again, that he's opining on things, but he wants to start charging entities, including governmental entities, $5,000 a violation. So it's a risky proposition to do that. From a federal employment standpoint, the federal laws haven't really caught up to that issue. Currently, it's not a violation of any federal laws that we are aware of, but that may end up catching up. I know some cities have chosen to do that. On the federal level, it's a little different because we have to concern ourselves with the state. As you know, it's not an issue in New York or other places, but it is here in the state because of that recent legislation. So since it became effective July 1st, there's very little guidance. There hasn't really been a challenge to it. So there's, if you recall back when we discussed it the last time, we looked at the legislative history, and there's very little. It was added very late. Those provisions were added very late, and there were really no discussions on the floor with regards to those provisions. So we have no guidance whatsoever. So right now, I think it would be very difficult for us to mandate that.
Are you aware of any governmental entities in the state of Florida that have required employees to be vaccinated?
I believe is it Plantation?
Carlos.
Yeah.
It's Robert.
Oh.
Hello?
No, he was on the phone.
Okay.
I'm aware. I think it's Plantation that they decided to do that. There may be a few counties, but I don't have a list. I know that there's fewer than the majority, obviously, but some have chosen to do that. There is a risk to it, but again, those are risks that would have to be undertaken by the commission.
All right. Well, maybe we can schedule a conversation about that at some point in time. I just feel that we need to do everything we can to protect our city employees and make sure that everyone is healthy and doing everything we possibly can to to, ward off the virus as it continues to mutate. I would certainly welcome the conversation and see how people feel. But I just think it's something that we should consider and have that conversation at a later time. Okay. And last but not least, I know that thank you, Chris, for distributing this yesterday to my colleagues. I wanted to bring up this resolution that you all have a copy of. Basically, I'll just read the header and then I will take any questions or if we can discuss. My desire is that this actually goes on tonight as a walk-on item, as a resolution this evening. And it states a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, opposing the legislation passed in Texas and other states that abridges a person's fundamental right to privacy by curtailing the right to abortion, urging all Florida municipalities to join the City of Fort Lauderdale's efforts in safeguarding and promoting access to reproductive health care and abortion rights, directing the city's state lobbyists to advocate against legislation that would curtail a person's right to legal abortion, and providing for distribution and an effective date. So I'd like to bring that up for discussion. I just feel very strongly that as statements are being made at the state level by leaders in our state legislature about their intention, once session comes back, I just think it's important as a city and for the values that we have stated in this resolution and what Fort Lauderdale has always believed in, that I really do think that we should go on record, as other cities have in the state and around the country, actually, in expressing our opinion on this issue, because I do feel that it is important for us to understand that while some will say, well, we have no control and we have no purview over this, I do believe that we just don't live in a Fort Lauderdale bubble, that we actually do live in a greater world, and that world encompasses our participation in our county and our state and in our nation. And I just find that when I'm reading, I do not want to see Fort Lauderdale become a place where neighbor turns on neighbor, where a family member turns on family member, all for a check for $10,000, and they become a bounty hunter or a vigilante. I just think that it's such a dangerous path for us to just deputize citizens and let them take over for officials and practice the law and enforce the law. So I just think it's a dangerous road, and I would like us to go on the record as stating such. That's it, Mayor. Thanks.
Okay, so are you looking to do that as a walk-on?
Yes, this evening. Yes, everyone has had a
We can discuss it at that time, since you're introducing it now, and give us time between now and then to review it and to think about it. And at the end of the meeting, we can discuss it and see whether or not the commission wants to take any action on it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Sorensen.
Hey, Mayor, thank you. This might be a user error on my part, but I'm not seeing the video of the chambers on Zoom right now. And I don't know if that's something on me or...
We're not seeing it on this end either, so there's got to be something that they're working on.
Okay, great. Can you see me, Chris?
We can see you.
We can.
Sorry about that.
If you want us to knock you out, we can do that too.
You can look the other way. Great.
We like your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks, Mayor. I got several items just want to touch on. Let me start off. November 2nd commission meeting, Mayor. I got asked if there was any interest of the commission to move that commission meeting date due to Dia de los Muertos, kind of the event that evening.
Your Spanish is getting better, Commissioner.
Hey, estoy practicando cada día.
So Day of the Dead is November 2nd traditionally, and it's a Tuesday this year. And the promoters are asking us to move our commission meeting to the Thursday so that we can all attend. Anyone have any thoughts about that?
I do, Mayor. As your newly elected board member to the Florida League of Cities, I do have a meeting that day and out of
On
town.
the Thursday?
Yeah.
Okay, so if we move it, it wouldn't be Thursday.
And Wednesday. I have a meeting both nights. It's a 2-day meeting. Thank you
You're
for
working more
thank
than
you
all
for
of us.
electing me. Nominating me.
So that's not cool.
Yeah, that's fine, Mayor. Then I don't think that's fair to move it. That would conflict with Vice
Happy,
Mayor's schedule.
very happy to have you all go on without me. I'm sure the city will be in great hands.
I also want to say one thing. You know, I've been to Mexico for this celebration, and when it falls on the weekday, usually they do it on the weekend. Remember one year it was on a Monday or a Tuesday, and the city of Mexico City just came alive on Saturday night, and there's very little. I mean, the parade was Saturday. All this, the ofrendas were on display in the plaza on Saturday. So, you know, there's nothing sacrosanct about the actual day. So I don't know. We'll have to talk with Jim. I know he's really excited about doing it on the actual day, but I can't not have a commissioner at a meeting for this reason. So, all right. What's that?
Muchas gracias.
Perfect. All right. Thanks, Mayor, for that. Next one, Commissioner Glassman mentioned this 9/11 20th anniversary. So we're, as a city, we're having an event that morning. There's also an 8 a.m. beach cleanup. I think it's where it usually is, which is basically A1A in Las Olas. And then also at the Loop at about 2 p.m., there's going to be another 9/11 ceremony there. So just want to share those events. Alan, maybe you can speak to this, but I was really happy to hear that the Florida Supreme Court will hear ours and others' challenges to the state law, which I think is ridiculous, limiting municipalities from discussing how to make our city safer around guns. Alan, you want to give us a quick update on that?
Yeah, I was going to send out an email later. The Supreme Court has accepted our appeal of, if you recall, in circuit court, our challenge to the penalty portions of the firearm preemption law. We had successfully challenged that law as unconstitutional, at least a significant portion of it. And it went up on appeal, I believe, to the second DCA. The second DCA reversed, and we appealed
Against the cities, correct?
Correct. And so we had lost at that level, and we petitioned the court for certiorari review, and the Supreme Court has accepted that certiorari review. So we will be proceeding to our top court to decide the issue.
Has did the DCA stay their order pending review by the Supreme Court?
Not to my knowledge, and it's been the recommendation of lead counsel since the inception of even after the decision favoring us, after Attorney General Ashley Moody appealed, that we should not act upon any of the decisions because this is simply too risky until we have final disposition.
You understand that, Commissioner?
Yep. Yeah, I've been tracking it. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, great. Thanks. And Mayor, I think you all saw this, and I just wanted to lift it up as a great celebratory note. The Fort Lauderdale CERT team won the Florida 2021 CERT Team of the Year, which is awesome. It's, I think, the second time they've been CERT Team of the Year, Mark Miller and the whole team. So I just wanted to celebrate that, Mayor.
Great. Congratulations. Great.
Yeah.
Great that our folks are so engaged and committed. It's a strictly volunteer undertaking. We know how important that is.
Exactly. Yeah, they do great work. Other celebratory note, Principal Terry Bucolo, she was at Harbordale Elementary School. I'm sure many of you know her. She was a teacher and administrator at Broward County Schools for 34 years, 19 of which was at Harbordale Elementary, and she's retiring and moving on to the joys of retirement. And I just wanted to lift her up, Mayor. She's just a bastion of giving back to our children across the community. So just want to celebrate her as well. Also, Chris and maybe this goes Chris and Alan, the 6th Ave, we've been working on the 6th Ave right of way, and I think Alan, your office was kind of working on this and trying to look, Mayor, see if we can make this kind of a bit of a greenway at 6 between 10 and 11th Street. Alan, can you remind me what's next for that as we consider that in Tarpon River?
We have to look at the plating and the various documentation to make sure to see exactly how it's dedicated before we determine exactly what kind of improvements could go on there. If we have improvements that are too much akin to a park, then we risk possibly abandoning the intended or dedicated purpose for it. So we have to look at that documentation and ensure what that is. And then at some point in time, I need to have a conversation with Parks and Recs as to what their intent is.
Okay. So just keep working on it internally, and if you can just keep me updated, that'd be great. Okay, thank you. Next one is, Mayor, again, I know this is something we've talked about, the pickleball and pickleball courts at Holiday Park. I think last time we talked about pickleball, we talked about the possibility of a center kind of northern Fort Lauderdale. I just wanted to kind of check on that. There's, a lot of folks really think it should be at Holiday Park. So let's defer to Commissioner Glassman or Parks and Rec to just kind of talk through that.
I mean, we can go
All
to
right,
the.
so let me just say, we've received an unsolicited.
Yeah, we
proposal,
did.
And,
Correct.
And was that for Snyder Park?
Yes.
That's correct.
Okay, are you aware of that, Commissioner Sorensen?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So I think that might deserve a line item discussion at a next conference meeting to talk about that.
Yeah.
I do believe we have quite a few pickleball courts at Holiday Park. We have a lot of activation at Holiday Park. Maybe it's time to start activating some other open spaces that we have here in the city and other parks. I do know that a lot of our parks, our pickleball courts, are being used by people who don't live in the city. And so while we do welcome people from other areas, we can expand our pickleball, courts and opportunities. So let's maybe have that discussion and see where we might best want them. And maybe we can get a report from Phil Thornburg on any recommendations that he may have if we're going to move forward on developing new courts.
Yeah, that'd be great, Mayor. So if I'm hearing you right, have on a conference, a city conference meeting, have that as a line item.
Yeah, it's become a big
Great.
issue. So
Yeah,
I think it makes sense.
that's great.
Yeah, also, Mayor, Commission, I would like to still consider the pickleball court that we proposed at the Galt Beach Community Center, because we do have park bonds allocated to pay for that construction. Maybe it won't be the tournament facility, but it certainly can be additional courts. So if we can still keep that on the conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Okay.
that makes sense. Okay, great. Thank you for.
Before you go, Mayor, you mentioned that a lot of people who are utilizing our pickleball courts are not from the city. And a light went off in my head because I noticed that a lot of the parks, you see a lot of folks playing soccer, organized soccer, on our fields now. I don't think they're from our city though. So do we rent these facilities or you just come and access them?
I don't know.
I mean, so because
The Holiday Park are just available to the public.
I get that part, but I'm saying like to do soccer, right? It's like a whole team of people come out,
Or baseball.
set up a field,
Baseball, softball.
baseball, what have you. Most of the time with our softball and baseball, you rent the courts. This is a pickup game, and you have access to the courts. But I noticed like at Riverland Park, Phil,
Yeah, Phil's going to have to help me with the answer here.
there's people that come out there and gather. So I can just go get a pickup game of soccer every week and take over that open space. How does that work?
So it varies, and it's a challenge, but I would say, so if it's organized play, then they should have a permit. So trying to figure out if it's an organized play or not sometimes can be a challenge, but we do work with the rangers to try to figure that out. So if they look like it's an organized two teams and they have a referee, or they have, seems to be a pretty competitive game, then they would need a permit for that. If it's just a group of family members or some friends that came out to kick the ball around and play around, then we would not require a permit for that.
Yeah, I get that part. So let's use Riverland, for example, because we know it's happening there a lot, and pickleball could be wherever you've seen it. Is there someone on our staff that says, hey, are you organized, or they look at it and say, interpret that as organized, or we just, how do we?
So we try mainly with our park rangers, and if we have staff at the park, which we sometimes do at Riverland, then we would go out there and watch them and try to figure out if it looks like it's an organized group and it's a tournament, or it's just a league that they've kind of organized on their own, or it's just a bunch of people picking it up. But I will say it's a challenge for every city and the county as well, because people move around. They try to find spaces, and if they get caught, then they go somewhere else. So every city has that challenge of pick up play.
Yeah.
Becomes
because what happens is
organized play.
Over there, for example, the kids are trying to play football, or they're running routes, or working out, and the main green space is taken up by these soccer guys
So if it's
right by there.
And I appreciate you bringing to my attention, if it's every Thursday at 6 and it's the same group, then it's definitely organized. If it's just, they're just showing up from time to time and it's not the same group, and then it may or may not be. So it is a challenge to try to figure that out, but we'll definitely look into it more and keep a closer eye there.
The same thing with pickleball. You saw it at Holiday, right, Mayor? Yes. We should be able to go out and play pickleball. I don't know how many people. I don't know anything about pickleball. Speak on it, but if they're utilizing the courts, I thought we were trying to bring a national sports pickleball to these courts when we initially started out. Isn't that where you were going when you? Okay.
Well,
All right.
I think that organized play, like there are leagues and the team sports and things like that. They obviously get a permit, and but I just think it's people who use our tennis courts, people who use our pickleball courts, people who use our soccer fields on a random basis. No one's going to get a permit for that. But
right.
I guess the question is, like, I know that sometimes use the tennis courts, you have to pay more if you're not a Fort Lauderdale resident, correct?
So that would be true at Jimmy Everett or George English Park, where we have staff, and at the courts, the open play courts, then in any of the other parks, then you can play if you're a resident or non-resident. They're all free.
Okay. All right.
Thank you. Sorry, Ben.
Anything else, Commissioner Sorensen?
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, no problem. Let's see. Speaking of parks, I think, Mayor, I think this is a plan, but I just want to double check of us having some kind of discussion with one-stop shop. If it's a conference item where we can have public participation and so forth. Is that planned?
I don't think it's planned, but I think it's necessary. Okay.
Well, Mayor and Commissioner, I have requested from the city manager that on September 21, this is an agenda item.
Is that right? Okay.
It will
Yes, I
probably be
have.
the whole agenda.
So it's on September 21st. It will be our only conference item.
Correct.
Perfect. Okay, and we'll have public participation there, or the possibility for. Okay. Perfect. That sounds great. Anne Murray Greenway, just to keep you all updated. We've been kind of working hard on trying to preserve that greenway, and we're going to have a meeting with city attorney, city manager, and the property owner, and the attorney representing the property owner. So continue to try to have conversations there. I just want to give you all update on that. Thanks, Commissioner Glassman, for mentioning Joel Gustafsson. He sounds like you've been longtime friends with him. He's a great person, and I've knew him for years, and just a great community pillar, and just sad for his passing, and his family is just wonderful family. Let's see, Chris had a question about Aviva, the development kind of just on the south bank of the New River, and the kind of traffic calming possibilities for like the development fees or whatever can be used on that 6th Ave, which runs, let's see, parallel to Federal. Can you remind me how we're exploring that or what we're looking at there?
I'll have to get an update from those that might be looking at it. I know we were talking about whether or not those fees were eligible in that area based upon that development, but I don't have anything current for you today.
Okay, but you know what I'm talking about, right? That street
I
there.
do. This is that discussion. Okay. It's adjacent to the tunnel, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Okay, great. That's that. Let me just see one last. I got one last item. Great, Mayor. I think that is it. Thanks, Mayor.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I just have a couple things. I too want to wish everyone who's of Jewish faith that they had a great and sweet New Year celebration, and look forward to Yom Kippur next week. Also, to remind people that again this Saturday at 9 a.m. we will be commemorating the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 event. This will be at the monument we have on the Riverwalk, which is at the end of what's the street? Brickell?
Yes.
Brickell Street. And so, we invite everybody to attend. Today's the first day of King Tides. Those people living in low-lying or passing through low-lying areas, please be careful when you drive through those areas. It's a phenomenon that we experience on a regular basis, so please be careful. Also, just so that if anybody was aware of this, there's plenty of vaccine out there, and if you haven't been vaccinated, please get vaccinated. The sooner the better. And those that are eligible or susceptible to illness, we encourage them to get a booster shot at any of the local pharmacies and hospitals that offer it. A couple things that I attended. On August 21st, I went to Pascagoula, Mississippi, and I participated in the christening of the USS Fort Lauderdale. It's a beautiful ship, huge ship. It will be coming to Fort Lauderdale next July, approximately, for the commissioning of the vessel. It's a transport ship, and I was there with the Assistant Secretary of the Navy, Ms. Berger, and it was just a great moment for Fort Lauderdale. So fortunately we couldn't have a lot of people there because they're practicing federal COVID restrictions, so I felt very honored to be able to represent the city, and hopefully we'll get to see it next year, all of us. I also want to welcome Chief Scarrato. Thank you again for coming to our city, and we look forward to working together and seeing great things continue to happen in our city. So looking forward to your leadership. Thank you. I also participated not as a runner, but as a welcomer to those in the Mercedes-Benz Corporate Run last week, and we had a huge amount of people participating, a lot of local businesses sponsoring, as well as bringing a lot of their employees into that. It's a run, walk kind of thing, 5K. We appreciate Mercedes-Benz and all the local businesses who were sponsors for really trying to encourage people to come back downtown, get back to work, and get the downtown running again. Just recognizing some of the busyness that I see around here, I think we're being very successful at that. On September 15th, coming up, the retirement ceremony for Officer Sandy Downs Kiesling at 10 a.m. at the community court, which is right here. Officer Downs Kiesling has been an unbelievable asset to this city in trying to work with our homeless folks and trying to rehabilitate them and get them off the streets and back on their feet. So it's going to be an extremely tremendous loss to our city when she retires. Let's see. September 17th will be the ribbon cutting of the new Parker, aka Parker Playhouse, and the city is very excited to see that happening. there's been construction on that for so many years, and it's just been an amazing opportunity for the city to once again have a stellar event space where the city has seen so many performances for many, many decades. So we're very excited at that event.
Do you know that,
What's that?
I think Patty's Day Golf Tournament is the same time as that?
Is it at 10 a.m.?
Yeah, I'm saying,
Uh-oh.
it starts at 8:30, so I mean, somehow
Okay.
we didn't coordinate.
Well, maybe you can do the first round before 10 a.m.
First round of drinks or first round of golf? So just,
If you're
Well-
drinking at 8 a.m., I don't expect to see you at 10 a.m.
no, I won't be doing that. I will be playing golf, so, and I committed, so I'm just.
Okay, that's fine.
Um,
So there will, on that same day, that afternoon, I'll be giving welcoming remarks to the kickoff meeting for the USS Fort Lauderdale commissioning. But again, it won't actually be happening until next July. And but there are a couple of issues now I'd like to go over. These continue to come back to us, and we really need to, at some point, figure out a way how we're going to address them. The first thing is we're constantly seeing motorcycle gangs rummaging through our city. A1A, US1, people are calling us, emailing us, texting us, saying how they feel threatened. They're people doing wheelies and just completely violating all of our traffic laws, traveling in bike lanes, interrupting traffic, and we see police officers who are standing there, and when asked, they're told, well, they were told not to do anything. So this will be something that, Chief, we're going to have a discussion on, and I don't know whether it needs to be separately, privately with your office or at a commission meeting, but we really need to address this because doing nothing is not a solution. In fact, all it does is encourage people to think that, wow, Fort Lauderdale allows this, and that will just begin the deterioration of the quality of life that we have here in our city. It's not an element or an activity that we encourage or embrace, and I think that we need to do something now to discourage it.
and to add to it, I'm not trying to single out anything, but they don't just drop in the air on the beach.
Right.
Come up Sunrise, they come up Broward, they go up and down 27th Avenue, 31st Avenue by St. Thomas, so they're all over the city. It's not just isolated to us.
They don't, right, exactly.
So, I
So
mean,
we've got to work with neighboring
we
cities.
got to figure out how not to allow them into the city.
Yeah, I agree. Now, I know this is a sore subject for a lot of people, but we have two businesses that continue to flow into our highways and our streets. In particular, it's Starbucks south of the river and Chick-fil-A on North Federal Highway. We continue, I'm sure every commissioner hears complaints about what are we going to do, how it's causing traffic snarls. Again, Chief, we'll be looking to you to work with us to figure out solutions with those business owners to find a way to reduce the amount of interference that they are causing in our pathways that other people have a right to drive on. Many times I've driven up North Federal Highway and there's just total traffic jams. And it's all because of a business that I guess at one point they didn't have in restaurant dining. It's not our problem. Our problem is getting people off the highway, and it's not a parking lot. And we need to find solutions because doing nothing, again, is not a solution. So I just want to bring that to
But let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
And I hear you, and I've heard you time and time again. So if we were to come up with a plan, is it going to be against the businesses or the person getting a cup of coffee who's going to get a traffic violation now and impact their insurance? Because at every model of those two stores you named, in particular the Starbucks, you got Dunkin' Donuts, the one on Broward Boulevard by the police station. You got Dunkin', two of them on Sunrise, actually three of them on Sunrise Boulevard. But it's the model that won't allow that many people, whether it's dining in or stacking, to go through the drive-through. But we permitted this use, and these cars are just following the permitted use that we have there. So I would hate for us to start ticketing people are going to Starbucks. That's a moving violation.
Right,
So,
I don't-
but
I don't
every model like that throughout our city, you have the same stacking problem into the traffic. Across from the airport, that Dunkin' Donut, it's the same model of stacking. So,
Well, I don't think the solution is ticketing people, but I do think that if this model is not working anymore, then going forward, obviously, we can't approve new businesses if they don't have enough surface area in their parking lot to be able to accommodate any demand that they may have. I haven't been to the Dunkin' Donuts, but I'm not sure which ones they are.
you spend all your time at
Decided-
7-Eleven.
Trying to stay away from donut shops.
7-Eleven.
But I do know that it's unfair. It's unfair, especially seniors who perhaps
I think we
can't
should look into it.
navigate as much as well as maybe you and others can.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that it's just a problem, and
Is it all day?
Mayor?
Is it like doing bit?
I don't know certain hours. I don't know really. I haven't been tracking it, but I do know that
Okay.
we get lots of complaints, and I think it's unfair that any neighborhood or part of our city is
Mayor, can we get an update from Ben Rogers? Because we are working with the Florida Department of Transportation on a different traffic plan for Chick-fil-A. That's the only one I'm involved in. Maybe Starbucks is doing something different with Ben down in this area, but we are looking at reworking the traffic flow.
All right, thanks for bringing that up. So maybe Mr. Rogers can elucidate.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mayor, Commission. Ben Rogers, Director of Transportation Mobility. To Commissioner Moraes' or Vice Mayor Moraes' point, we're working with Chick-fil-A on some of their private efforts to modify their site plan. But in addition, FDOT is doing an engineering study right now, and they expect to have some results or some findings for us in 6 to 8 weeks on traffic modifications in that area. It's also looking at U-turn points and just traffic congestion and conflict points.
Okay. Is their restaurant, their indoor restaurant open?
Yes.
It is. So it's back to being open again?
Yes, I'm not sure if it's 100% capacity, but I do know it is open.
Okay. So if the thing is, if it's not 100% capacity, okay, then they're causing the problem because people could go in there otherwise. We didn't have this problem originally. It's just started since COVID when they didn't have indoor dining. So now people have gotten used to the drive up, and it seems to be the preferred way of patronizing that business. But Starbucks has always been a problem from day one. So
And
yes, Ben.
Chris, have we done, so I've been working on the Starbucks issue for years, and Ben has been working as well. Chris, I don't know if we've ever done, are we engaged with FDOT on the Starbucks piece as is happening with Chick-fil-A?
I don't believe we have, but the thing that FDOT got involved with, and the reason FDOT became important is because they were seeking an additional curb cut to get back out onto the state highway. So I don't know that the conditions are the same or the solutions that are the same that would cause us to. But that's just my initial reaction to your question. We can look at it further.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. I mean, Mayor, we've been working with Starbucks regional management, and Ben's been working on it, I know, so it continues to be frustrating. One of the things we looked at, Mayor, I know, was from a city ordinance construction standpoint. Chris, I think Anthony was looking at like the, in future, what is permissible and allowable in terms of making changes to prevent something like this happening again. Do you know if we've continued down that path?
We have, and I know that's been brought up. I don't know by who in a meeting, but that's what the mayor just referenced as well, which is design criteria and how we design this flaw out of future development.
Right. So can we get an update on that?
Yeah, Anthony's making his way to the podium. I know you still can't.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Sorry, I still can't see anything, so I don't know.
I'm going to ask as soon as the mayor's done with his reports if we can take about a
That completes my reports.
break, and then we can reboot this computer. So
Yes.
But let's get an update, and then we'll get video going here in just a second.
And Mayor, while they're talking real quick. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Anthony. You're responding to Commissioner Sorensen.
Sure. Good afternoon, Mayor Commissioner Anthony Fajardo. Sustainable Development has been working with Transportation Mobility on looking at different options for these issues. The challenge is you have different types of businesses that are basically victims of their own success. So we're trying to develop ways that we can address it more directly. We don't have any conclusions at this point, but we should have something we can bring back to you for consideration in the near future.
Okay, great. That's helpful. Thanks. Thanks, Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
And Mayor, I just have one other question unrelated. If that's all right.
And by the way, Ben, if you want to
Yep.
see us, you can turn your TV on, keep the sound off, go to channel 78, and you can see it's a delayed broadcast, but you
Yeah, so that I was doing that for a bit. Yeah, so I can. It's a good idea. I'll keep doing that if this doesn't work. And Mayor, the pickleball question, I thought it was a good one to bring up. The let's see, the proposal at Snyder Park. Chris, can you just remind us of the process for that? What happens next with that pickleball proposal at Snyder Park?
Same thing as every other unsolicited proposal. So we'll look at the business terms, we'll look at what's proposed, we'll look at those questions that we try to answer before bringing it to the commission, and then we'll bring it to the commission and they can decide if we want to move forward with it or not, and that will start that process.
Great. So you're looking like bringing it to the commission in a month or two, something like that? Or?
Yeah, right now we've, in the past week, we're probably in receipt of about 6 different unsolicited proposals, so it's going to just get in with all of them.
Yep. Okay, got it. I just want a little sense of time for that. All right.
Ben, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Let's say we do Snyder Park with the pickleball, right? That park, is that a paid entrance or is that a free park access? I used to pay it one time.
I believe, just in my first review of it, that it would be something that would be that I can't talk about. So we'll have to do it. We'll have to do that later.
The park, can we pay to go in that park, or is it free?
I don't think it's paid all the time.
No, there's a business model related to the unsolicited proposal I can't talk about.
I'm talking about our park, not.
Phil can respond to that. He's coming up to the podium.
So the park is free during the week, and you pay to park on the weekends. So there is a fee to park on the weekends, not during the
parking.
Okay.
It's parking, not entrance, but parking.
That's how we regulate it. We used to have an entrance gate at the front.
I remember that.
Yeah, we got rid of that, and we just have meters there now, and you actually just pay to park, and then you put it in
And what
there.
activities take place at that park now?
So
The dog lake,
we have a
dog,
frisbee,
disc golf.
golf. We have the off-road bike. We have a lot of walking trails. We have the kids ecology core. So there's quite a bit that happens. That's in the last 2 or 3 years. We've done a lot of programming, a lot of new activities at the park.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Mayor, I had one more comment about Chick-fil-A. I don't know if the commission would support this, but I think part of the problem, like Anthony just said, is they're too busy and there's only one. I mean, I don't know, maybe we should write the Chick-fil-A company on behalf of the city and request that they build a few more Chick-fil-A's to alleviate that traffic jam. I know there was one coming on Cypress. Anthony, wasn't there one coming on Cypress? And I don't think that ever happened.
They decided not to open.
Well, I don't know why. I don't know how their business model works. I know it's kind of private ownership, and they have to allow it, and then someone takes it over. So
It's all corporately owned and locally managed.
right. So maybe we just send a letter on behalf of the city and saying we're really imploring you to open a few more Chick-fil-A's, at least one more. That's the problem. We only have one in Fort Lauderdale.
Well, then we might have that problem everywhere.
Well, I don't.
Yeah, I think we need to first focus on better managing this site. Somehow we're just not.
Okay.
Why don't we put
Right.
one in every district so you guys can.
You can write the letter if you'd like.
Maybe I'll write the
Go
letter
ahead.
on behalf of my office.
Maybe you can operate it.
Maybe I can own one. Is that a conflict?
Okay, so are we ready to go on to business 2?
Please.
Can we
Excuse
take
me.
just
No, CF1.
CF1, can we take a minute and just reboot this computer so the video will start working? Willing to take a couple minutes?
What now?
We can get this camera working
Oh.
if we do a reboot of a computer, but we need to pause the meeting for a second while we do it.
Okay.
Yep, let's do it.
All right, so our team is ready in place to go. And go. Let's just,
Okay, so the meeting continues. CF1, Mr.
Perfect.
Mr. Lagerboom.
Chris. He left. He was standing over you. He left.
oh, who was it? Okay. Oh. I can even see him right there on the screen. I didn't think to turn around.
Are we good to go?
We are.
Okay, so let's go. Who's making the presentation?
Mayor, that would be me. So this is an audit that we performed. This is continuous monitoring of overtime. This is the second half of that. We had previously submitted to you the police department overtime report. This one relates to the Public Works Department.
Okay,
And again, this was something that we undertook during COVID just to keep an eye on overtime as it was being incurred. Obviously, as everybody was working remotely, we were in an unusual environment for us, and we were making sure that internal controls were still in place, still functioning as intended. And what we found with respect to overtime for the department was that all the overtime hours were approved and that the payments were materially reconciled to the timekeeping records. However, we did notice a number of internal control weaknesses that we've outlined in our report. Primarily, and if you go to page 3 of 15, you'll see our first finding is that their departmental policy and the PSM that we have in place requires pre-approvals for overtime. And we weren't able to find any evidence that these pre-approvals were occurring within either the Chrono system or outside of it. And so our recommendation is that they implement a pre-approval process as already required by their own policy and by the city manager's PSM.
so who has quality control responsibility in this department? Would it be the director?
Ultimately, yes. So you've got within each functional area, you'd have supervisor within that area who would have direct knowledge of the work that's being performed. Obviously, the department head isn't necessarily going to know that a particular individual worked overtime or was going to work overtime and what the reason might be. But there are lower level supervisors who should have that knowledge that should be able to determine whether or not that overtime is needed and there's sufficient budget for it and so forth.
So was this a rampant practice or just sporadic?
We noticed a number of incidences of this, so this is actually fairly common. As you see when you look down at the second finding there, our Chrono system is incapable of recording these justifications for overtime. 48% of them had no approval. So it's fairly pervasive.
Half the overtime was not approved, not pre-approved.
That's correct.
But were they subsequently ratified? Were they approved afterwards?
So there's a spreadsheet that they were using to track them, but the spreadsheets had no evidence of supervisory review or approval on them.
Okay.
In addition, the forms that they should have been using require the reasons for the overtime to be documented. And our last finding down there on the page 4 is that there were a number of individuals that had fairly high overtime. 15 out of the 30, those Chronos approvers weren't even the workers named supervisor on the organization chart. So we brought all this to the attention of management. Management has concurred with our findings and is going to be implementing new processes, new controls in order to ensure better management of overtime going forward.
Okay. What else can we say?
Mayor,
What we
sorry.
can say is that in many circumstances, there was approval that happened, and we were spending within our approved overtime budget. And there are supervisors at all levels in the Public Works Department. Appreciate John's work. This is going to amount to a couple of policy changes, as well as a look at our software system to see if it can be modified to account for the second finding, the Kronos system. So we will add these to our audit tracking, and we'll report back to John when we have put those policies and that software fix in place. And in the meantime, we'll work with our supervisors to make sure that there's a good handle on a pre-approval and approval process.
Well, why are we paying people when their time has not been approved? How is it that that isn't a checkpoint in the process? Like if your overtime wasn't approved either before or after, that you don't get paid. I mean,
What I'm saying is I think it was approved. I just don't think that John, when he found the spreadsheet, found that there was any signature on it or evidence of official approval.
well, look, we know that in 2020 there was a lot of emergency stuff going on. So I understand that a lot of stuff maybe people didn't have time to do the niceties of getting a pre-approval slip signed or whatever. But even after the fact, I just think that it behooves us to ensure that people are not, engaged in fraudulent practices. I think people want to know that, people are getting paid for the hours that they're working. So, this audit is telling us something completely different. This audit is telling us that people are working or not working, and their overtime slips are not being reviewed and not being signed off on. You're saying that, well, there's more there than the auditor has seen, but what else is the auditor to look at?
So to clarify, as we look in Kronos, there are no pre-approvals. There are approvals that are after the fact, but it's not showing. So for example, we're showing no approvals for a number of these. There's no hours worked, no lunch period, no employee sign off. So we have a number of various issues in the approval process. And again, I think these are things that would simply benefit from training with the supervisors. I think it's more of an issue of just reminding supervisors what the PSM requires and what the departmental policy requires. I think we've simply just, we've gotten a little sloppy, perhaps, in some of our record keeping and our processes. Again, so very similar to what we saw in the other departments, where I don't think there's an intent to defraud. What I think is we're just sloppy with our record keeping, and I think it's really a matter of training and retraining. We've got, obviously, in many of our departments, new staff through the years, and a lot of the knowledge transfer is taking place word of mouth. So there's not a formalized knowledge transfer mechanism so that somebody is training these folks as they come into these various roles. So I think those are the kinds of things that we need to capture. We need to reinforce with the departments. We need to reinforce with supervisors what the appropriate departmental policy is and what the city's larger PSM is.
Okay, is that your recommendation?
Ongoing training and improvement and tightening of the policies and procedures. Yes, sir.
Anyone have any questions of?
Yeah. Yes, John, can you just confirm that they have the proper tools they need to track and to sign off the proper software, the proper technology to make it easier for them to do their jobs efficiently?
So I believe, so there's a paper form that can be used. And then there's also our timekeeping system. The timekeeping system, as it has been explained to me, doesn't necessarily, in its current form, allow to document everything that we have. It's not capable of recording the justification, for example, which is one of the things that you're supposed to be reflecting in there. So that's something that I think we could look into when we deal with the vendor and see if that's an enhancement that we can request to the timekeeping system.
Yeah, that would be my recommendation, because like I'm hearing, you don't really think someone's abusing the system, they're just not documenting it correctly. But I'm certain in this day and age, we can have the technology, even from a supervisor's phone, when they could approve something, whether it's on the cloud or whatever. So that would be my recommendation, training and the correct technologies to help them do their jobs.
Any other questions?
Mayor, just to, again, thank you for the work, John. I just want to make sure with all the recommendations and then the findings and management response, will we be getting updates on how we're doing with regards to the management responses and how?
Yes, you will. So in coordination with OMB, they maintain an audit tracking system, which we provide some oversight for. So as all of these audits come up, and not only the internal audits that we do, but the external audits that are performed as well, all of those findings are documented in our audit tracking system, and quarterly, those are reported. My staff looks at them as they've been remediated on an ongoing basis, and this is also reviewed by your audit advisory board, and staff from the various departments will come to the audit advisory board and explain their progress or lack thereof, and we provide you with periodic updates on the status of those. I try to get that out to you twice a year. I don't want to do it too frequently if things haven't changed, but we generally aim to bring one to you mid-year and at the end of each year. So you'll see the status of all open findings from all the audit reports we've ever done, as well as the external ones.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks, Mayor.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Thank you. Thank you, John. Do you want to add anything?
I don't. Nope.
Okay, moving on to business one, the Henry E. Kinney Tunnel construction update. Who will be reporting on that? Mr. Rogers.
Let Ben introduce it, and I think he's going to turn it to FDOT.
Good afternoon, Ben Rogers, Director of Transportation Mobility. I've invited FDOT to our meeting today to share their project information on the Henry E. Kinney Tunnel project. I've heard from the community that this is the tunnel top project, but I just want to make sure before we start, this is the larger project that FDOT's working on. It includes the tunnel top project, but also improvements on US 1 and restoration efforts on the tunnel. FDOT's done a very good job of public outreach. They held a series of meetings in mid-August. They've mailed over 8,000 flyers to businesses and residents in the immediate area. And they have a dedicated webpage and social media presence promoting this. We're in day 3 of construction. They closed some of the roadways down on Tuesday. We haven't seen any significant impacts at this point, but I invited them today to share kind of the next 60, 90, 120 days, what to expect, and then take any feedback or comments that the commission has.
3 days down, 700 to go. Keep track of that, Commissioner McKenzie, okay?
I got it, sir. I called Charlie King.
Please introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Daniela Silva. I am the Community Outreach Specialist, and Project Spokesperson for the Henry Kinney Tunnel Improvements and Pedestrian Plaza Project. I do have the construction project team with me today. I'll go ahead and introduce them. To my right is Heidi Cuevas. She's the construction project manager on behalf of Florida Department of Transportation. The two other gentlemen next to me are with BCC Engineering. They are the consultants administering this contract on behalf of the department. Senior Project Engineer Martin Ryan to my right, and Roadway Project Administrator Eric Pinares. Not with us today, but also part of the construction project team, we have Mechanical Project Administrator Andre Thomas and Construction Project Manager on behalf of the contractors, Frank Serrano. So we'll go and provide a brief presentation regarding the overall improvements for the project and provide a 3 to 6 month look ahead. Project overview. The overall purpose of the project is to rehabilitate the tunnel and build that pedestrian top plaza. Construction, as mentioned by Ben, what began on Tuesday morning, September 7th. The overall length of the project extends 3.14 miles along US 1 from I-595 to Broward Boulevard. The contract was awarded to lead engineering contractors, and the contract cost is $28.4 million, which $10.6 million were allocated funds from the city of Fort Lauderdale to build that pedestrian top plaza. Total contract time is 701 calendar days. These dates do not include weather or holidays. Sorry about that. And FDOT has included project incentives for the contractor to meet that 701-day mark, which would bring us to an estimated completion of late 2023. As mentioned before, the project limits do extend along US 1 from I-595 to Broward Boulevard and also on Southeast 6th Avenue and Los Olas Boulevard. The overall scope of The overall scope of work does include rehabilitating the structural, mechanical, and electrical and architectural and life safety components of the tunnel, which part of the life safety components include installing fire evacuation exit signage, replacing lighting inside of the tunnel, updating automatic manual fire detection systems, replacing and upgrading fire department connections, providing emergency communication and notification systems, as well as updating the ventilation systems and ventilation fans to the north and the south of the tunnel. The project will also install intelligent transportation systems along US 1 from 595 to Broward Boulevard. And this does include installing arterial dynamic messaging signs, which will provide motorists with real-time traveler information, sensors supporting incident detection, and provide traffic data. This will also include CCTV cameras to provide real-time traffic monitoring and incident detection, as well as an ITS fiber optic cable along the corridor. Milling and resurfacing along US 1 from Rio Vista Boulevard to the south of the tunnel will also be part of the project. And of course, the tunnel top will be extended to the north 117 feet. Oh, I apologize. 117 feet to accommodate that pedestrian plaza, which will accommodate new redesigned brick pavers, new fountains, seating facilities, artificial turf, landscape installation, and new fountains. The project will also reconstruct the intersection of Los Olas Boulevard at Southeast 6th Avenue. The overall